All right. I'm gonna, not that I think they watch the videos, however, before we roll this on the air, I'm gonna dedicate this show to some fans of the show, Dave and Annie in Big Fork. This one's for you. All right, Matt, are you ready? Yep. Ready to rock and roll? Here we go. Just give me the one whenever. Okay. Welcome to the Flathead Home Show. All homes, big and small, we discuss them all. My name is Justin Meccia. Welcome to the weekend. Welcome to the summer, although it's not exactly terribly warm yet. So I'm wearing a jacket. It's okay. Yeah, it's good though. I'm glad the sun is shining. The grass is green. Looking like it's going to be a good summer. You know what? I'm going to go back in time just a little bit when I had my good friend Scott Countryman with Goosehead Insurance on the air. He was part of a series that we had called Myths in the Marketplace, and we were myth busting, and we were talking about a couple of things, obviously insurance related when it was with Scott. And he reminded us, or informed us better yet, that there is a myth that with the snow load in the winter, in November through February, if that's low, we're going to burn a lot in August. And if it's high, we're going to be okay in August. And he actually said, no, that's not true. It's a myth. It's the rain in June that helps us from burning in August. So I think we might be okay. There's a decent amount of rain out there this time. So hopefully we're best prepared to have a really rockin' rest of the summer. So let's get into the show here. I'm going to do a mid-year report card. Okay. So remember back in high school, Matt, when it was like quarter reports and mid-year reports and then midterms, right? Okay. Yes. Yeah, so there's no quiz. There's no quiz here. No midterm. It's just a midterm report. So we're going to report the data. What is going on in the world of real estate? How are we performing? Are we up or down or sideways or confused? I don't know. I watched the presidential debate last night, Matt, and I'm more confused. I don't know what to think of anything. No, I have a couple of thoughts on that, and that is not for this show because I think they mentioned housing once, so we're not going. There's nothing to talk about with that. I'm going to thank my sponsors while they're still hanging on. All About You Wellness and Aesthetics and Montana Basement Solutions, solving your water and mold problems for good. Thank you both for sponsoring this show. Okay, the Flathead Home Show, midterm report. Here we go. Friends, yes, we've sold some houses. In fact, we've sold so far year to date as of Friday. So you're listening to this show on Saturday. That was as of yesterday, close of business yesterday. We've seen residential sales to the tune of 677 units in Flathead County, 677. Is that up or down or sideways, or what are we doing here, Justin? Well, compared to this time last year, the same reporting period, that number was 698. So, yeah, about 20 units shy of where we were last year. Now, is that enough to make a difference? I would argue no. That's somewhat negligible. However, here's what I want to highlight. And I don't have this number because I am not a lender. So maybe a lender can call the show and provide some information. However, I do sell real estate every year. And I remember my closings of 2023 versus my closings of 2024. And that interest rate was quite a bit different. Even though the interest rate in 23 was rising, it wasn't to the tune of where we are today. Okay, so the interest rates of today arguably are higher and therefore harder on the borrower than they were this time last year. So what I'm saying is we're still selling. And we're still selling despite the fact that money is a little harder to get, or it's a little heavier to hold on to, or it's, let's just call it what it is. It's a little bit more expensive. Now, what does that look like though? This is where I wanted to carry the show. The sale price. So when inventory is down, price goes up, especially if demand's not going to disappear, right? So that's still holding true. And we want to think, right? We want to think, oh, is it normalizing? Is it going down? Is it resetting? We want to think things are different or changing, and better yet, let me say changing dramatically. Well, they are changing. It's just not dramatic. So like I said, about the same amount of closed units this year as opposed to last year, which to be honest is a little disheartening because we were hoping the market would pick up a little bit more. However, it's also a little encouraging because we're finding ways to make the sales happen despite the interest rates. And it's showing up this way. So the median sale price, for those of you who have been listening for a while, we had a show some time ago talking about average versus median, and I'll just give it to you. Go median. It makes a little bit more sense, okay? Because average includes the unicorns, and they throw numbers way out. However, the median sale price between those closed units this year versus last year, we're about 3.4% higher than we were last year, okay? Now, is that enough to make a really big difference? Well, it's not exactly negligible. That's movement. Okay, so our prices have continued to go up, even though the interest rates have also continued to go up. So our demand is showing up in force. One of the things that is a little different, and this is a little negligible, however, it's still showing us part of the story. The concessions. This is something that I don't often hear people talk about, so I figured I'd talk about it. I'd be the crazy guy to talk about this stuff. What I mean by concessions is the amount of money that sellers pay to help buyers out. Okay, now sellers can't give you money to go towards your down payment. However, what they can do is give money to help buy down your rate or help to pay your closing costs or your prepaid taxes and insurance and things like that. And so we call that seller paid concessions. Well, the median amount of concessions in the transactions last year, that number was $6,000 median. This time this year, $7,000. So sellers are paying $1,000 more. They are getting about the same amount of money statistically for their homes, because we're still getting about 96% of the original sale price. And the value of the home is still going up despite the fact that the interest rates have also been going up. It's moving. It's slow, although it's steady. This is the Flathead Home Show. My name is Justin Meccia, the mid-year report card. When we come back, more data for you, and we're going to break it down between Big Fork, Columbia Falls, Whitefish, Kalispell, Flathead County. We'll be right back. That's a lot of numbers. I'm looking at him like, okay, don't trip. So, I did this. Oh, I wanted to talk about the percentages, the 96%. Okay. You're still rolling. You want to just give me the one whenever we're wrapping up this one too? Sure. Cool. Here we go. And we're back. It's the Flathead Home Show. All homes, big and small. We discuss them all. All markets. All market movements, big and small. We discuss them all. My name is Justin Meccia. We're doing the mid-year market report. We're talking about the numbers. How are we doing? How we've been showing up. In short, what I heard from the data just this last segment, and if you missed it, kjjr.com, click on the Flathead Home Show. You can go through our podcast where all of those shows for most of the past 8 years are there for your listening enjoyment. In this situation, we're talking about the market in Flathead County, and we learned that it's moving. It's moving rather sluggishly, although it's moving, and it's moving up just a little bit. It's not exactly dramatic. I would say if we back up far enough, I think when we get down the road, probably towards the end of the year, and we look at this again, it will look a little bit more like a flat line, because 3.4% up is not 9 or 10 or 20% up, which is actually all numbers we've experienced in the last 3 years or so. The movement on concessions, the fact that we are averaging and there is a median amount of concessions in our sales now, as opposed to 5, 6, 7 years ago, that wasn't really a thing. The fact that we have concessions is there. So here you are, a seller. I just shared this data with you. What did you get? Okay, well, here's what you got. You're probably going to have to help the buyer buy the house. And a seller paid concession is probably there for a rate buy down, right? A 2-1 buy down, or whatever these products are that help buyers obtain their home at a lower interest rate than 7 and 8%. And that's the median amount on that right now so far year to date is $7,000. So seller, be prepared for that offer that asks for seller paid concessions. The other thing that you need to prepare yourself for, and I'm going to hit you guys right in the throat because this needs to be heard. You're not getting full price. I'm going to say it again. You're not getting full price, and you're not getting walked up on your price unless, of course, you dramatically underprice your house. I'm just reading the data. 96% is the average close sales price per original list price. Okay, 96%. And what that means is the buyers are moving you about 4% off your price. If you have a $100,000 piece of property, now granted, $100,000 is going to get a multiple offer and it's going to get walked up. So that's a bad example. However, let's just roll with the math because that's small numbers and I can do it. If you have a $100,000 piece of real estate, that's $4,000. You should expect $96,000. You can do the math, add a zero and add another zero. So now you're talking about $1 million piece of property. You see where I'm going with this? You should expect to move about 4% off, and you should expect to contribute a couple of dollars to the buyer to help their closing costs and or their rate buy down. Just talking to you, hitting you right in the face with this because I want you to know you're not getting your full price. Not unless you drastically underprice. Trust your realtor to price it right. Okay, just letting you know. Okay, let's go to the market real fast. And let's get specific. And this is interesting and a little bit heartbreaking. I'm going to just be honest with you. Grab the tissues, friends. Here we go. In Flathead County, in all of those 677 sales so far this year, the price bracket that is the most popular. Matt, you got a guess on this one? Like, what price bracket did we sell the most inventory in? And by price bracket, I mean, 300 to 400, 400 to 500, 500 to 600, and so on. I'll give it to you, Matt. The 500s. The 500s showed up the most with 101 units closed between 500 and 599,999, right? Just under 600,000. By far. Actually, let me just not say by far because the second most popular bracket is 600 to 700. Okay, so between those two, you got almost 200 of those 677 units between 5 and 700,000. Friends, there's the floor. Welcome to the Flathead. There's our price tag. I know that 10 years ago it used to be 200 or 250. Trust me, I was buying real estate then too. I know. It's just not the way it was. Now, according to the presidential debate last night, the word that showed up a whole lot more than housing was inflation. Because guess what? Everything else costs that much more too. There was a comment that has become a social media joke today about, there used to be $100 of groceries and now it costs you $120. And people are like, yeah, where do you shop? Because it's not $120, pal. It's like $250. Because I do believe your groceries have inflated more than your housing. So it's just all going up. And welcome to the Flathead, $500,000 entry level, okay? That's a little bit of a bland statement because let me give you a little more detail. We had 64 units between 4 and 500. We had 53 between 350 and 300. So we did have some inventory. However, between 250 and 300, 4. Yeah. And I don't know if they were actually livable. Let me give you some more data here, though. The most popular price bracket in Kalispell this year so far, 500 to 600, same thing, same as Flathead County. For Big Fork, 6 to 7, no surprise there. For Whitefish, you ready for this one, Matt? Ready to fall out your chair? Yeah, 1 to 1.5 million. There you go, Whitefish. You guys win again. Okay, my name is Justin Meccia. This is the Flathead Home Show. There's your mid-year market report. Be safe, be well, and of course, as always, hey, Flathead, welcome home.